To enjoy and value the many activities throughout the lesson. Classroom procedures associated with group expectations have obviously been established in this positive classroom environment. As I watched the video, the kids, they knew your procedures, they knew your expectations. They got up immediately, they were in line, they weren't fooling around. There was one kid, as you did the class walk around to read everybody what they had written around, only one kid, Jerry, went through and didn't really read, unless he's an amazing speed reader.
Right.
But all the other kids, Hyundo and many of the kids, they stopped and they seemed to really try to read everything in there. The video screen was useful, and the students used it as a reference for each activity. You used it, you pointed out, you clarified what the expectations were with the kids, and then I watched the kids. I saw them looking back at it. When you gave them time, they needed clarification sometimes, just a little bit, and I watched them read, and I thought that was a good thing to keep up the whole time. Your learning objective was up there. In the beginning, you announced that right away, so the students were really honed in on what they were supposed to be doing. I like the use of eye and elbow partners. And I think a lot of times in cooperative learning settings, it's not the appropriate thing to do, but in this one you were doing information building, you were having the kids share from personal experience and things like this. I thought the activities that you had, the eye partners, the elbow partners, and the sharing, and the time expectations that you gave them, I thought it worked really well with the students. Ending questions, there were sometimes you went and asked a kid an open-ended question, and then they replied, and then you were able to respond to them with another open-ended question to try to ask them to take it a little bit further. The question, to me, something I looked for quite a bit. Time management was handled with clear expectations as the candidate worked all of the groups. You always said, okay, you got 3 minutes to do this. Excellent time management for groups. The expectations are right there, and you kept with those times. Let's see, the teacher's interactions were very helpful and friendly as he varied his voice and often kneeled down to the student's level. I saw you do that a lot, and you really got with him. You were listening, you were smiling with him, you were energetic, you seemed passionate with the students. All excellent teaching traits. The teacher, let's see, the expectations for the Google Classroom assignment was relevant to the learning objective and allowed the students to expand on the information at home and go to their family members or whomever they wanted to. I like that. The way you pulled that up, you showed what the assignment was. They all knew where to go. They all saw it. It's physically there in Google Classroom. The students were tasked to provide evidence of their understanding by writing during various exercises so the teacher could assess for understanding. And that's a thing where you went around at the end and you were reading and checking on the things that they had written. And I thought that was a good way to assess. The lesson was fast-paced and interesting for the students, in my opinion, and I liked that. They always had something going on. There weren't lulls from what I could see, and maybe it's been edited into that, but there weren't lulls. You were with it. This was well planned out. You knew what you were doing. The students knew, and it seems like they've done this before with you. They kind of got up and just did things, and I thought genuinely. Time ran out before a quick whole group review of the most important information that could occur. Like one of the things I was thinking, well, maybe if there was enough time, maybe a couple minutes, okay, go over the biggest ideas and let the students kind of explain what were the biggest takeaways you had, things like that. That's something, but that happens even to me sometimes. You just run out of time. How do we know that the brightest and most talented students were challenged? I'm not sure that this question was answered during this rather brief glimpse into the class. Overall, this lesson was very well planned and carried out. Is there anything that you would like to respond?
No, I agree. I say it was fast-paced. It was probably too fast-paced. Or, part of what was edited out is when they were moving from station to station before I took them into the line, right, where they were working on each of the things. And they probably got a little bit less focused during that time because they were working as individuals, but they were also 3 or 4 students at a piece of paper at one time. And as I went around to, kind of just see what was put on each one and make conversation with them, they weren't necessarily always engaged at the other stations. That you may have seen me something like, hey, come on over here, right? Like, you haven't been to every one of these things yet, right? So, there was a bit of a lull there. And at the end, I did have to rush I wanted to spend more time talking about the video, which the whole video I did show, but you only see like 20 seconds of it in the edited thing that you saw. But because, and I even stopped, it was a 5-minute video, I stopped it after 3 minutes because I wouldn't even have been able to go over like what they need to do like for homework and stuff. So I would have liked to have at least a 3-minute debrief right there, but I didn't stop it in time because of some other stuff. So that's definitely something I noticed. In terms of the brightest being challenged, it's probably not the best lesson for that thing to happen. It was a real front-loading thing. Like this, we're going to take this understanding of stereotype and eventually apply it to the novel we're reading. So it was, to me, it wasn't a fully like higher level Bloom's type thing. It was more at a comprehension thing. Though some of the questions that I asked them to do, asked them to evaluate something or to analyze something. But the ultimate goal here was a foundational knowledge in what the ideas of stereotypes are, especially as they relate to students and kids their age. I will do a brief thing probably tomorrow about Asian stereotypes, because that is actually the stereotype that happens in the book, right? So it's a Chinese, first generation Chinese kid. Mom was born in China, he was born in the United States, going to school in California. He's the only Asian kid in the school, right? And so that's why the going home and talking to their parents about the stereotypes is going to be like the lead-in to the next thing I do, right? Where we then discuss specific Asian stereotypes. And at that point, I think that I'll challenge some kids particularly to do some other stuff. Today in class, they're going to summarize the conversation that they had with their parents in a private comment to me, so no one else can see it in case it's personal information. And I hope to use that information maybe to ask some kids to do a couple of things. So
that's great. Yeah, good. Like, I like how you have it thought out. So through the grading, let's see, here it is here. What I saw in the time and for what it was foundational. It was information gathering, gaining an understanding of what stereotypes are and referring back to what they had read. I gave an outstanding for did you demonstrate an understanding of learning. And I thought your strategies that you employed were really good and varied, and not the same thing. Your questions were open-ended. I thought that was really good, your ability to question it. Meeting the student's needs, I gave you an outstanding for that. Did the candidate demonstrate that he can meet the student's needs outlined? So it said, candidate designs and implements instruction to meet the student's cognitive, linguistic, social, emotional, and physical needs. I didn't see anything that was lacking in that. Did the candidate develop instructional strategies based on the student's readiness for learning? And this was another one where I could have gone to that, but there was a section in here, next level of learning and develops appropriate. But this one's kind of difficult because it was foundational. But I just thought, from what I could see, the teaching that I saw, this is what I would want my daughter going through. And then developmentally appropriate instruction. I gave outstanding for that. Candidate creates and implements developmentally appropriate instruction. It takes into account the student's strengths, interests definitely, and needs to enable each student to advance and accelerate his or her learning. So I thought it was a very good foundational thing. The way the kids got to interact, they were talking, they enjoyed talking about this stuff as well. And the last one is collaboration with families and others. You have an element where you are reaching out and the kids are instructed to go and speak with family members, and I like bringing that element into it because this is a really easy topic through this book, talking about stereotypes, especially most of our kids are of Asian heritage, and going back and just relating it home. So yeah, I gave outstanding for that as well. The emotional growth and development of the students and the way you got down with the students, you were very gentle. You varied your voice when it was time for everybody to understand. That's a different voice than when you're down with them and asking and smiling, and the different postures that you showed. So yeah, I think really, really good lesson, really good teaching.
Great, thanks.